But nonetheless, in this matchup, spawning pool has now been begun by AciesSpawn. It is about halfway complete right now. The hatchery also, the hatchery is about 2/3 complete. Nothing too big going on. Here is our overlord that will provide our 6 to 8 minute scouting. Very, very imperative to have this overlord in place, because the 6 to 8 minute mark is exactly when AciesSgtSwat will have his tech going up. Now, we have not seen an expansion go down yet by AciesSgtSwat, so I would expect that we are going to be seeing some sort of bust play. Now, it isn't too late. We do have the second gas here, which is indicative of some sort of tech play. But once again, if he was going to drop this expansion, he'd either have to do it pretty much right now, or he'd have to not do it at all, really. Now, we do have these Zerglings. They killed something over here. They probably killed a probe, let's be honest. Probes die all the time in PvZ with Banelings and Zerglings and Mutalisk. So, these Zerglings are moving across the field. They will see that there is no expansion, and Spawn will feel fairly good. He's already thrown up a couple spine crawlers, otherwise I would say that would be his reaction to seeing no expansion, because it is obvious there would be some sort of pressure play. Now, we do have these second 2 gates going down. I did get some criticism for saying that there's probably not going to be an expansion, because he could still do a 3 gate. However, with this second gas, once again, most expansion builds do not go for that second gas. It is possible, indeed, it is possible, but a lot do not. And plus, the 3 gate expand isn't very popular. However, he could be just doing an old strategy, and that is perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine to be doing an older strategy. He does have the Twilight Council just finishing up in the back of his base here. So, this Overlord is slowly being tickled. Look at how slow that DPS goes. That is painful to watch. We will see. I would expect Blink Play to come out of this. Blink Play, very, very popular against Zerg. Nothing quite yet. Still just kind of waiting for that drop down. He does have the money to do whatever he wants right now. He could lay an expansion. He could use gas on something else. He could use gas, for instance, on a Templar archive. So we are going to have a fast tech up into Templar play. Most likely an Archon play here. I really, really like this play. I am looking forward to seeing this. This is one of those things that came up for just a little bit and then was quickly shot back down as Zergs learned how to deal with it. But it didn't quite make its way down the ladder. So, in that right, it's very, very potent in games that are below high master level. Blink Play, by the way, for those one of the people in chat who is asking, Blink is a teleport ability for the unit Stalker, which is this spider looking thing. So you can teleport to and fro within a limited range. Very, very popular versus this Zerg opponent. So we do have decent creep spread coming out by AciesSpawn, slowly pushing out both lanes here. Templar Archive has now finished up. It looks like we were going to be seeing Zealot Archon. Charge is very good for Zealot Archon. Just lets those Zealots get in the front of the attack force, and then the Archons obviously have a range of, I believe, 3. I believe Archons have a range of 3, so the Archons can shoot from behind the Zealots. Now, AciesSgtSwat would really, really benefit from not letting Spawn see this until he's pretty much knocking at the front door of Spawn. If he was smart, I would actually fall back with this Archon a little bit, unless he's planning on attacking now, because Zealot Archon is best. I won't say that it's bad by any means. Don't get me wrong. Zealot Archon is an amazing build. Infestation Pit on the way, as well as Burrow. We might be seeing some Burrowed Infester play. So annoying. But Zealot Archon is super, super powerful when they have no idea it's coming whatsoever. Now, it will be interesting to see if we have Neural Parasite, because then Spawn can just Neural Parasite the Archons, and Archons just destroy the Zealots, because they do the extra damage versus biological. Zealots are biological. And one thing, in case anybody out there did not know, every single thing that is Zerg is biological. That includes buildings. Buildings are biological. Roach is biological. Everything. We have a lot of roaches on the field right now, as well as glial reconstruction. That is the faster roach movement. pathogen glands, which allows those infestors to spawn with more energy so that they can fungal growth right after coming out. Burrow about to finish. Missile attacks level 1 about to finish. Carapace about to finish. A lot of tech coming out right now for spawn. I actually almost can't explain it all in the time that it takes because it's going to finish before I get there. Metabolic boost, one last one. Also about to finish. That is, of course, the Zergling speed enhancement. And here is the push out from AciesSgtSwat with his 2 Archons kind of trailing behind just a little bit, and the Zealots in the front with sentries. Not essential. I guess good for Guardian Shield, but that's about it because these Archons could crush any force fields by accident. SgtSwat smartly going for the third base, but here's the engagement. Now the force was actually relatively good, staying away from the Archons. However, this army is not going to quite be power enough. There are a lot of roaches out right now. More force fields made for the retreat. That was a very nice force field, but it looked like these roaches on the creep with those with that Glio reconstruction upgrade almost caught up, but was not quite able to. And I just want to say, this reminds me of the blue Tootsie Roll. If you guys, any of you guys remember those on Halloween, the vanilla Tootsie Rolls, those were the best. And by the way, I just want to make a quick mention about the gold rocks. A lot of the GSL maps are now abandoning the gold rocks as they feel that it provides imbalance to the game. So if you start seeing gold rocks disappear on a lot of tournament maps, that is why. Now on this map, not so much because there are only 5. Normally there are 6 gold patches, and there's only 1 geyser here, but this is a rich Vespian geyser. Very interesting. Now we do have the roaches beginning to poke up towards the front door. A third base being attempted to be taken by SgtSwat. However, he really needs to be careful with these roaches just knocking at his door. He could actually really use to have some some stalkers warped in to help counter these, as while Charge Lot Archon is good against roaches, it's not good against a lot of roaches. Now here goes the Zerg army moving down to the third base of SgtSwat. He really is going to need to cancel. There's no way he's going to be able to save this in time. And SgtSwat is going to also AciesSpawn would have an easy retreat. And now a little bit of lag coming in from AciesSpawn here. A little bit of lag, nothing too bad. Yep, there we go. It seems to be fixed already. So that third did get canceled in time. Only a loss of 100 minerals. And yeah, holy balls, says AciesSpawn. I don't know if that's the number of Archons or the lag. I'm assuming the lag. And of course, the one game. Okay, yeah, no, he's fine. The one game I forget to make myself referee, so I can't talk to the players, ask if they need a pause. There's a lot of creep on this map, guys. I'm just gonna look at the corner. Look at all of this creep. That is stupendous creep sped by our Zerg player, and that is really important because it allows him to reinforce his army really fast. And if there's one thing the Zerg army is good at, it is just streaming units into the Protoss army. And the Protoss really just can't do much about it at that point, especially when the supply disadvantage is 159 to 100. That is a nasty discrepancy. Even with so many Archons on the field, the Zerglings are going to be completely useless. But it's not really going to matter because there's so many roaches in the back. In fact, really, the Zerglings are going to be a nice buffer, I would say. And this third might get canceled again. The army is a bit out of position to defend it, and yes, it is forced to be canceled. SgtSwat should really be keeping his army right here, because that allows him to easily fall back and defend his natural, and run over here and defend his third. All of these changelings being taken out by Archon Splash. The fourth base for AciesSpawn now up on the field. And SgtSwat starting to look to be in quite a bit of trouble here, as it is almost 4 base to 3 base. Just needs to get this saturated to make that true. We do have 69 to 46 harvesters, very highly in favor of our Zerg opponent, who is just handily taking this game as of right now. This is not looking good for a Protoss player. We do have a lot of Zealots and Archons on the field. That is 10 Archons on the field right now. That is so many with his splash damage. And they do have that +1 upgrade, which allows the Zealots to kill everything. Zealots now kill everything in 2 hits when they have the +1 upgrade. No, it allows them to kill Zerglings in 2 hits. And the Archon Splash is just even more potent with that. Now here's the entire army. There goes a beautiful fungal growth on that army. The roaches can really just have their way as the Archons are outranged by the roaches. Now the Infestors in a bad position. However, they do fall back a little bit. More Fungal Growth going down in this army. The Fungal Growth are impeccable in this combat, just managing to catch all the Zealots. And there's the OGs. That might be a translation to GG in another language here. All of these Archons are going to fall. All of the Zealots have fallen. Those were some beautiful Fungal Growths. Now here there was another little ditch effort here. Another Fungal Growth going down. There's so much energy on these Infestors. There's really nothing that Sergeant SWAT can do in this engagement. And both of these Idle Archons are going to fall. And now we are down to just 3 Zealots and 1 High Templar left on the field for Sergeant SWAT. It is 189 to 60 supply. Sergeant SWAT looking to fall in this game. AciesSpawn to take the king of the hill. So, my goodness, that was just a lethal attack by AciesSpawn, and it really goes to show that, well, I guess you just need to diversify your units a little bit more, because just pure Zealot Archon, Zealot and Archon, don't get me wrong, both very good units. Not good against Roach, Zergling, and Fester, however, apparently. We do have a Greater Spire on the way now. The third base finally getting taken by Aces Sergeant SWAT, but it looks like it's going to be taken out one more time by this huge roach ball here. There is 2 pages of roaches. That is a lot. That is almost 48 roaches. They are almost going to be able to one-shot this Nexus if they are got shooting at the same time. There are so many of them. So Sergeant SWAT is going to be down to about 1 base for the most part against the 1, 2, about 3 bases of AciesSpawn. Spawn is in a very nice position. He is happy to just sit back, make some bank. Of course, the limiting factor for any Zerg player is the gas. Pretty soon he's going to have to sack the roaches. And if you can see my fingers right now, I'm doing the little quote thing. And I say sack because by sacking the roaches, he could actually probably win the game at this point. But he'll want to sack those because he does have Zerg missile attacks 3 on the way. But the important part is that he has this Greater Spire almost completed. And he'll want to free up some supplies so that he can get lots of Brood Lords out on the field. Now, Sergeant SWAT, sticking with this Zealot Archon, now mixing in a couple of Immortals. And see, this is what he needed earlier, was this third unit, these Immortals. And now some Stalkers, also good to have in this army composition. But these Immortals would just have ripped apart those Roaches, and the Roaches couldn't have fired upon the Immortal unless the Immortals were in range. Now, it looks like we were going to have a final engagement here. I don't know if Sergeant SWAT is going to quite have enough to pull off this battle, though. And there are some force fields going on. Not the best. There are gaps in them. Now, here come the Broodlords on the bottom side. Oh, my goodness. And keep in mind, these Broodlings have 2 armor. They're close to having 3 armor. And that just makes them extremely difficult to kill. Extremely difficult to kill. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Sergeant SWAT in a very bad position in this game. Still on 2 bases to the 3 of AciesSpawn. And now the Broodlords looking to start their final assault against the Protoss. These units being fungled. There is nowhere they can go. They're just having to take the Broodlord fire. No blink yet, so the Stalkers cannot blink on top of these Broodlords. There are a lot of roaches. A single force field goes down. Needs 1 more to fully block this off. And there's the GG from Sergeant SWAT in this game. Not the most action-packed game of the series, really. Sergeant SWAT, with that Zealot Archon, once again, was missing that 3rd essential unit. It needed to be Stalkers or it needed to be Immortals. It needed to be something. Because he really just didn't have a good solution to go against so many Roaches. Mass Roach, a very powerful build, especially when you transition into that Roach-infested Broodlord composition. AciesSpawn just had free reign with that game. We look at the resource collection rate. Look how early of a lead that Spawn took with that, and then just kind of plateaued, and then he took his extra base, and he was consistently well above Aces Sergeant SWAT. So there is our 2nd team kill for the night. I will be back. I am Coffee Break, and I will be back in just a couple of minutes with the next Coffee Cast. Real quickly, if you haven't already, go to my Reddit link. It is going to be posted in the chat there. Go to that link, upvote that, go to Facebook, let people know that I'm here, and I will be back in just a couple of minutes with our next game.